Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Elite Wrestling World. I am your host GhostSaad. Thank you guys for joining me right here for AEW Dynamite post show review. So this is the go home show before the pay-per-view this Sunday, and the card is stacked for tonight's Dynamite. Kenny Omega, Ospreay, Moxley versus the Don Callis family in the trios match. Kevin Knight defending the TNT title against Darby Allin. Women's tag titles on the line. Divine Dominion facing the Sisters of Sin in a no DQ match. And also Jay White wrestle one-on-one against Clark Corners. So plenty to look forward. Let's get dive into it and talk about that. So we start off with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay backstage segment. Ospreay says that every time he and Omega have teamed, they are undefeated. Last time they teamed, Ospreay said Omega was winded, so anytime he needs to tag out to his friend Bill, he will pick up the slack. Omega says Billy has a big match at the pay-per-view too, so if he's feeling a little sore on the neck, he will be there to reach out to as well. So Moxley walks in saying there is no tension in this room and leaves as Omega goes the opposite direction saying there wasn't. And Moxley is gonna be the one through which they will go after each other before the all-in main event. So I'm pretty much lacking this story of Moxley creating tension between Ospreay and Omega. So first section of the night is Kevin Knight versus Darby Allin for the TNT title. Knight needed a strong showing here heading into world title match this Sunday, and he certainly did just that. And I like the physicality of this match. Darby Allin always took these insane bumps in these matches, so this was no different from that. So bell hasn't rang and Allen hits a low tope on Knight, chucking him into the crowd. Allen quickly goes up top with a massive dive from the post. We saw Knight repositions the steps and slingshots Allen up, popping the top of the steps high in the air, busting Allen open. That looks brutal. Allen battled back into an avalanche code red, panicking Knight as a proper one followed for a very close 2 count. Allen was about to respond with the Scorpion Death Drop, but Kevin Knight sent Allen colliding with referee Paul Turner, knocking him to the floor. Knight waffled Allen with the clothesline and went outside to grab the title, but Allen ducked a shot and hit a Scorpion Death Drop. We saw Knight clocked him in the back of the head with the title, hanging Allen in the Tree of Woe, connects with the coast to coast, drags Turner back into the ring and hit the UFO splash for the pinfall victory. So again, a very crazy opener, banger of a pay-per-view level match, and Kevin Knight retains the TNT title. So very strong showing for Kevin Knight. Post-match, Knight celebrates as Kyle Fletcher music hits, followed by Okada as Proto Okada make their way to the ring for their next match. So Renee was in the ring when we come back from the break with entire Don Callis family. Mark Davis mentioned laying out Andrade on Collision last week. Kevin Knight brings up having the most TNT title defenses in a row, breaking Kyle Fletcher's record and how he did it without Callis family. Fletcher said he doesn't need help from the family either. He's going to make sure everyone is banned from ringside this Sunday in his match against Bandido. Fletcher said also, let's have some fun. Everyone is banned from their match with Bandido right now. Fletcher and Knight have to be separated as Callis joins commentary saying Wild Horses got a run. So again, there is some tension between the Callis family members. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens next in the Callis family. Next up is Proto Okada versus Bandido. Exactly what you would have expected in a tag match with these four, as they are already starting the dissension between Proto Okada, which I am sure will come into play at All in Wembley Stadium. Fast start from Bandido and Fletcher as it's Bandido to get the early takedowns. Electric chair splash, senton, facebuster trifecta for the two. So Bandido and Fletcher trade suplex attempts as Okada made a blind tag to blindside Bandido. Locomotion corner splashes from the Callis family as Bandito tries to run in for the save. Protocarders shake hands heading into the break as Callis called Bandito a cocky little bugger. We saw Fletcher hit a thrust kick on King as Okada went for a rainmaker. King ducked and Okada took out his own partner, somewhat shrugging as a result. Okada turned into a rolling elbow and a tope outside from King as Bandito was back up for the 21 plex, spiking Fletcher for the pinfall victory. So there was that dissension between Okada and Fletcher. And in the meanwhile, Bandito gets the victory. Post-match, Fletcher got into Okada's face ringside, screaming it was his fault he lost as Davis and Lance Archer held him back. Okada bailed up the ramp alone with his head hanging low, and Bandito stared down the Callis crew as we were about to get a 3-on-2 attack when Andrade hit the ring to even the numbers. So again, it's gonna be a fantastic build up for the three-way at All In. Fletcher, Okada, Takeshita, and also Andrade versus Mark Davis on the pay-per-view is gonna be a banger. We saw Mick Foley makes his entrance to a loud ovation, and he will moderate the face-to-face between Thekla and Willow next. So Foley introduces Thekla first, who is out with Julia Hart and Skye Blue, and then Thekla calls herself Thekla Two Bells as Foley brings out Willow asking if she's ready for the task at hand. Willow said it's nice to see everyone, even Thekla, instead of a cheap shot behind her back. Willow came back from a shoulder injury and there is only one match keeping her from her dream becoming AEW Women's World Champion. Thekla says Willow is poisoned inside, balling up all her crap, so she is going to beat that poison out of her. Willow said she's never had to convince anyone who she really is, as everyone knows this toxic act is a facade. As Thekla walks around like the biggest and toughest, but it's because she feels so small. And we get a face-off between Willow and Thekla. Foley steps between both from getting physical, saying he sees part of himself in Nightingale as they were champions on TBS and both have taken beatings. Thekla flipped off Foley, holding up both her belts, staring Foley down. Took her belt off, went to whip Willow, who exploded up into a pounce, launching Thekla outside as the challenger stands tall. This was a good go-home segment with these two, and I am pretty much sold on that match as well. It's gonna be a fantastic match. Bang Bang Gang made their entrance with White, who is still carrying David Finlay's shillelagh. White nearly got a blade runner to start off the match. Connor scrambled, but White moved him down with a shoulder tackle before working the wrist. We saw Connors grabbed referee Rick Knox and threw him into White, giving him a chance to hit a spear through the ropes to the ramp as things goes to the outside. We saw Connors signal for a proper spear, but White had it scouted, missed Blade Runner, settling for a cutthroat suplex. Connors rolled out to Blade Runner into a schoolboy with a handful of tights for a very close 2 count. Connors went for the spear again but leapt into White's guillotine choke as White rolled into a bridge for the submission victory. So again a very good showing for Jay White. First singles match in 15 months. So happy to see Jay White back in the ring. Post-match, Connors came to try to attack but walked right into Blade Runner. David Finlay appeared and cracked White with the shillelagh before Juice sprinted to the ring with the rest of the Bang Bang Gang as Finlay and Connors bailed through the crowd. So again a very good segment post-match, building up a match potentially between the Dogs and the Bang Bang Gang for the pay-per-view. Copeland and Christian are backstage just getting going, cutting a promo when they were both attacked by Claudio and Pac. Copeland is driven down on a steel crate with a Pac curb stop as he can't believe they have the audacity to challenge them for a tag title match. They have bitten off way more than they can chew, as he and Claudio will remind them Sunday exactly what the DeathRiders are capable of. So again, it's gonna be a very good match for the tag titles on the pay-per-view between these two teams. Next up is Divine Dominion versus Sisters of Sin in a no DQ match for the women's tag titles. Very hard hitting match this was, and we always knew Sisters of Sin are very good in these no DQ matches, and this was no different. Bayne and Kross set up a table at the top of the ramp and placed chairs front to front by it as well. Kross is bounced around with forearms and thrust kicks in the ring as Hart and Blue hit a front face superplex and double super kick for two. Nando's kick from Skye Blue. Blue goes to the apron and watches a superplex, but Bayne choke slam her off the apron through the table ringside. That looks brutal. Hart back in and she sinks in the Black Widow submission on Bayne, who powers up, swings Hart in position for the tombstone, and then Kross and Bayne delivered the from heaven to hell choke slam for the pinfall victory and retaining the women's tag titles. So this was a very hard hitting match. Sisters of Sins looks fantastic, but I don't think so. The tag champions are losing it before All in Wembley Stadium, where they might face Brawling Birds for the women's tag titles. So again, a very good match for both the teams, and still Divine Dominion retains the women's tag titles. We saw Bang Bang Gang at backstage. Juice Robinson suggests they chain the dogs up to the Bang Bang Gang at Redemption and challenges Corners and Finley to a double chains match. Jay White said they are going to give Finley the beating his father should have, as they are going to make a man out of him yet. So it's official later in the night. It's gonna be Jay White and Juice Robinson versus the Dogs for double chains match, and I think so it's gonna be a fantastic match, a very unique stipulation, and I pretty much like the setup for the match as well. And in the main event, the trios match, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay versus the Callis family, Hechicero, Brian Cage and Jake Doyle. Action-packed party match to close out the show and create some dissension between Omega and Ospreay as we inch closer to Wembley, with Moxley right in the middle of it. And the match started with Hechicero and Ospreay kicks off with mat work and submissions attempts aplenty, leading to a stalemate. So fast tags between Ospreay and Omega and Ospreay and Moxley until Ospreay pulled a tag from Omega, telling him to tag Moxley, and Omega reluctantly does so in the lightest tag imaginable. That delay allowed Doyle to tag in and stomp a hole in Moxley in the corner. We saw Moxley reverse a whip on Doyle and tags in Ospreay, who fired off Kawada kicks and wall walk Yuzugiri. Cage tags in and like the machine he is, moved down Ospreay with ease. Ospreay looked up to both the teammates and chose Omega for the hot tag, and we saw Moxley doesn't look happy on that. So there is your dissension between Moxley and Ospreay as well. Cage battled right back with the F5, tagging in Hechicero, who hit a avoidedly loud knee lift in the corner. Moxley debated offering a tag as Omega screwed. He doesn't need him, as Moxley said screw it and held out his hand, but Hechicero locked in an arm breaker. Omega saved Moxley from a double team move as a slugfest with all four men broke out. Doyle got sent outside and Brian Cage face palmed to the mat by Omega. Brian Cage and Jake Doyle wanted a double power bomb, but was crushed by Moxley as Ospreay and Omega hit double Hurricane Rana's hidden blade V-trigger combo connects on Doyle and Cage as Hechicero ate a stereo hidden blade V-trigger from Omega, picking up the pinfall victory. So again, a very scratchy trios match. There was some dissension between Moxley and Ospreay and Moxley and Omega as well. So pretty much looking forward to the build between Ospreay and Omega, and Moxley being the centerpiece of that story. Post-match, Omega handled Moxley the Continental title and tried to apologize for hitting the V-trigger earlier, but Moxley shoved him off. We get a face-off with Ospreay separating the both. Bucks came out to play peacemakers, but Moxley shoved down Matt, and fight is on with DeathRiders and the Bucks as well. Ospreay caught Omega with the back elbow in the process. RPG wise hit the ring for some reason and both get their asses kicked single-handedly by Omega. Kevin Knight flew in off the top with the TNT title shot. Knight held up the TNT and AEW World title as this busted open Omega in the process. The show ends with Jet 2 Belts holding the titles over a downed Omega. So this was a very good segment to end Dynamite. Kevin Knight standing tall to close out the show is a very good look for Kevin Knight heading into the world title match. Also, the dissension between the Bucks and Moxley, Ospreay, this gonna be a very good story to tell in the coming weeks, and the tag match between these two teams is gonna be a fantastic match at Redemption pay-per-view. So pretty much looking forward to the Redemption pay-per-view this Sunday. It's gonna be a banger of a pay-per-view. And that's the end of the show, folks. Please guys, like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and keep watching Elite Wrestling World.